Let's be honest. When was the last time you truly read a terms and conditions page? Yeah, me too. Despite our irreverence to them, terms and conditions are very important, particularly in iGaming, and they are back in the headlines this week. Entain's Ladbrokes has been put under the spotlight, and we'll tell you exactly why on today's episode of iGaming Daily. We'll also touch on the end of the EFL season and why it could be a betting boom for operators. Before we jump into it, iGaming Daily is sponsored by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. I'm Charlie Horner, and today I'm joined by iGaming Experts editor Joe Streeter. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Charlie. Thanks for having me on today's podcast. Yeah, we're slowly transitioning into summer, and I'm very happy about that. Starting to get the tan back and the good vibes back too, so all good.
Very good, very good. T's and C's. We've talked about it a lot on iGaming Expert this year, and there's been a couple of stories bumbling under the surface, and there's another one involving Ladbrokes, and this one's a really interesting one. So first of all, for the benefit of myself and the listeners, could you just give us an overview? Tell us more about this.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It is a really interesting story, this one, and it's got a bit of traction. There's been some backlash from this story, and I think, like you say, it does bring back into focus the importance of operators getting the fine details right when it comes to terms and conditions. Ladbrokes have underpinned their decision to withhold payment on a winning bet worth six figures as being entirely consistent with their terms. It was a racing bet, and they said this is due to an ongoing investigation by the Irish Horse Racing Regulatory Board. The bet was placed, just a bit of background on the bet. It's some effort. I wish I could bet like this. The bet was placed by a stable lad last year. And I mean, yeah, he €30 each way double on Rocky's Diamond and Diamond Nora. I'm not sure exactly where they were running to, obviously two separate meetings. And he took prices of 80 to 1 and 125 to 1. So, yeah, I mean, some effort. They both won at starting prices of, get this, 22 to 1. And 16 to 1. So some foresight to take those prices of 80 to 1 and 125 to 1. It meant that his payout was set to be around €319,000. So, yeah, serious money. And interestingly, he does work for the trainer of both horses. He is a stable lad, and he does work for the trainer of both horses.
I mean, that is one hell of a punt. You've got to give it to him. But so the story is that Ladbrokes have withheld the payout.
Yeah.
What's the issue here?
Yeah, that is the story. And the operator, based on the fact that both races were under investigation by the Irish Regulatory Board, the Horse Racing Regulatory Board in Ireland, has declined to settle the bet. And that's the reason they've given. The reason the board are investigating the race, key to this decision, is due to the apparent improvement in form shown by the winners, which has led to the race being referred to the referrals committee. I can read you a little statement from the IHRB. They just said the winner, all right, was given on the day following both races, and that investigation is now nearing its conclusion. A decision will be taken shortly as to what further action, if any, will be taken. And it's been confirmed as well. It should be said that Fulton is not part of these investigations. He's kind of, he's an innocent party by all accounts in this, just with great foresight on horse racing, apparently. Ladbrokes also, this story was reported on the Racing Post. We should credit them for this. And Ladbrokes did give a response to the Racing Post, basically, in short, just saying that as the investigation is being conducted, they are awaiting the outcome, and they will await that outcome before settling any bets related to this investigation. They also kind of underlined that the integrity of sport is extremely important, and they want to make sure they get things right. So, yeah, interesting times. I think Ladbrokes will be happy to see the back of this, because it has led to some criticism from racing commentators, as you'd expect. But, yeah, I wouldn't want to make a prediction on the case, But I do see them kind of taking, even amidst criticism, they're within their right to kind of hold out for the investigation to be concluded, and I see them doing that.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a really good overview, Joe. And integrity is crucial when it comes to the betting industry. We've seen plenty of integrity sort of scandals, and I think it's only right that operators and the suppliers that they work with, do perform this due diligence, and they do make that clear in their T's and C's. But obviously, I can understand why the punter is aggrieved. We should make it clear again that Phelan isn't involved in any of these investigations. But
he's been very vocal about that frustration as well. He's kind of said how frustrated he is. He's obviously got his word out there. He's and I think that kind of is why Ladbrokes will be especially happy to see the back of this case. Who knows how it plays out in terms of what they pay out or how we go from there. But yeah, he's been very vocal about his frustration over not being paid out.
Sure, absolutely, and it's not the first T's and C's story that we've covered this year on site, and we've had another major operator embroiled in a T's and C's storyline. Paddy Power earlier this year. Could you give us a bit of an overview of that one, and sort of maybe if there is any sort of links that we can maybe take away from both of these cases?
Very different, but they do emphasise the same sentiment that really when it comes to T's and C's, the fine-tuning needs to be bang on. And in that case went against Paddy Power. We know that. It was between them and a disgruntled punter, Corinne Derber. I'm sure you're all familiar with the case, but they were ordered to pay Derber compensation of £1 million in relation to a disputed payout of a monster jackpot. They lost a High Court ruling on that case. They informed her that was down to a software error. And yeah, they had to pay her out over the mapping error.
And so quickly before we go to a break, do you think that these two cases sort of highlight why T's and C's are so important? And do you think that operators will be sort of tightening up their T's and C's this year?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, in the aftermath of the Derber Paddy Power case, we had Anne Soleil Mills, partner at CMS, legal expert on iGaming Daily, and she really underlined that that case was a great illustration of all the different consumer protection rules that you need to bear in mind when operators are drafting these standard terms and conditions. Yeah, she kind of had a look at the 45-page Paddy Power rules and guidelines, and yeah, she said that's kind of what led to this case going their way. She underpinned that it was a good illustration of why these things are very important. The first issue is to look at your terms and conditions. Are they consistent? Are they potentially saying different things in different places? Then how binding are your terms and conditions? Generally, the courts click accept is fine to create a legally binding contract. However, if there are any terms in your terms and conditions that are deemed to be onerous or unexpected for a consumer, you need to do more to bring them to the forefront of the attention of the consumer for them to be binding.
Excellent. Well, it's a fascinating storyline and certainly one to keep an eye on. We're going to take a quick break, and after that, we'll be back with the EFL. All right, welcome back to iGaming Daily. Now, the Premier League has fallen flat. We know who's won the league. We know who's been relegated, and we're left with this sort of quite tedious battle for European spots, which is sort of dominating the headlines. But if we go down into the EFL, the storylines all across the divisions, and there's so many variables going into the final day, which is going to take place over the weekend, and then we head into the playoff season, of course. Just how much chaos, Joe, is going to be taking place on the trading floor on over the weekend when the EFL season ends?
It's going to be frantic, right? It's going to be frantic, and you're bang on with your analysis as well. Like, I think it's really hard, unless you're one of the teams that are involved, it's really hard to get too invested in who's going to finish in the Europa League, who's going to finish in the Champions League spot. Yeah, you're just not too bothered. I think everybody would like to see Forest make it, a bit of an underdog story, although they're probably one of the biggest clubs in terms of stature in there and history. But everybody would like to see Forest, but it's, nobody's jumping around at that when they're watching as a neutral. The EFL, on the other hand, I mean, there are so many narratives, as you say, and We kick off on Saturday at 12:30 in the second tier in the Championship, right? And then League One and League Two all play out at 3:00. So, I mean, it's going to be a busy period. There's going to be some serious coffee consumed on the trading floors because it's going to be so fast moving. There are so many things to be decided. The goalposts are going to be changed all the time. Yeah, the situations are going to be different. It's such high stakes too. There's going to be some serious in-play money wagered, you would have to imagine. Punters are going to be desperate to keep up with what's going on, and all these anti-post bets are getting settled as well, which is interesting. You see a year of story just played out into its final chapter, kind of. I mean, we've got the playoffs as well. So, yeah, so many narratives, right? Any you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've got to say, my anti-post bet for the EFL season's already come in, so I'm running home to the bank.
Tell us.
Leeds, Birmingham, Doncaster to get promoted.
Nice,
so
nice.
Nice little 7-1 winner. I think
nice,
it was, which was not too bad. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Sunderland fan. Our season's kind of over until next week. But the other playoff spots in the Championship are fiercely contested. I think Coventry have got to play Middlesbrough, which is going to be one hell of a game. And then you look at the battle for relegation in the Championship. That last-minute winner for Derby at the weekend against Hull sort of changed the picture down there. So I think those are the two things that I'll be looking out for in the Championship. And then League Two, the final promotion spot is up for grabs.
And you're talking about last-minute goals. Like if we see a day like last Saturday, this Saturday, the drama's going to be crazy because Luton also got a pretty big last-minute goal against Coventry, which really changed the complexion of everything again, and I'm sure changed anti-post markets heading into the final day of the season. Who's going to get promoted? Who's going to get relegated?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And, with all these games happening at the same time, like you say, the live betting is surely going to be huge for the operators. But I think on a wider commercial basis, Sky Bet have the title rights for the names of the EFL leagues. And I think they'll be really happy with the sort of the showcasing that the three divisions have got this season. You look at the new Sky TV deal and the exposure that's given to all 72 of the clubs. And I think you would look at it and say that it's a worthwhile investment for Sky Bet. There's also SpreadX, who do a lot of sponsorship with individual Championship clubs with, quite considerable following. You look at likes of Sunderland, the likes of Burnley, Blackburn, West Brom that they have deals with. And, the EFL is very, marketable for these companies. And I think it's been a very successful season from that perspective.
100%. When we were talking to, for episode 501, we were talking to BetMGM about darts and their darts sponsorship. And one thing they really emphasized was that it's all about having your brand to those moments, those magic moments. I guess we kind of saw it with Liverpool last weekend when Google Pixel did obviously not a betting brand, but they managed to encroach on that moment, if you like, and it was fantastic marketing. They really kind of drilled that home, and they allowed their brand to be associated with that moment. And there are so many moments for Sky Bet when it comes to the EFL partnership. They're part of Port Vale going up last weekend. They're part of Wrexham securing promotion. They're part of this record season for Birmingham. They get to be part of all those moments. Leeds as well, obviously returning to the Premier League and those big celebrations. And there are just going to be so many more, not just next weekend, but in the month of May, as we kind of, the curtain raises, the curtain closes on the normal season and the curtain raises on the playoffs. And I wanted to ask you, actually, obviously as a Sunderland fan, you're in a very weird predicament, being probably the third or fourth best team in the Championship all season. That being said, you kind of go into the playoffs in a weird vein of form. You've kind of been in autopilot for a long time. When bookies are pricing the odds for the playoffs, how challenging is it to kind of, what do you think they go off? Do you think they go off the form of the season and the overall quality, or do the current form and the run that has been looking to get into the playoffs. Whoever gets that 6th spot, like you say, there's a real shootout for that at the moment. They'll almost win a cup final on Saturday to get that. If that's, let's say it's Coventry, or if it's Middlesbrough or Millwall, that's going to be a moment of elation for that team when they get that 6th spot on Saturday. They then go into the playoffs to play a team that's been better than them, that's picked up more points than them over the season, with this real buzz. Do you think that kind of changes the pricing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the football of it, Joe, because it's quite depressing at the moment. We've lost 4 games in a row, but I think there's a lot to be said about momentum and coming into the playoffs in form. That being said, when you're pricing up these odds, I'm sure there's a lot of underlying data that the operators on the trading floor are looking into. Head-to-heads in the regular season, that might come into it. Form, obviously, and then just the overall performance of the team throughout the entire season. So I think, look, Sheffield United, despite their disappointing run recently, are probably going to be the favourites for the playoffs because,
that quality reigns over form when you're pricing. I
mean, look, I'm not a trader, but I'd imagine that there will be favourites. I'd just be interested, actually, just as we come to the close of this, who's going to win the playoffs in each division?
Well, before I give you an answer on that, one team I don't think will win the playoffs is Walsall, and I think we've got to talk about Walsall a little bit. I know we're kind of running out of time, but I wonder what price they were to get promoted. That market must have been somewhat suspended because they were so far ahead of any team, and that fall off is incredible. They've been one of the better teams this season, but they go into the playoffs with terrible form, and I think they'll be the least favourite team to win the playoffs. Yeah, who's winning in each division? That's a great question. Start in the middle, I like Charlton. I think they've got a good manager in Nathan Jones. I think they'll, and we're going into real nitty gritty of football here, but I like Charlton. I think they've got a good manager in Nathan Jones. I think got the right momentum too. I think if Wrexham had have missed out on automatics, I think it might have been them. League Two, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think Salford City have got a great shout. They've got a good record against all the other teams in the playoffs. So no reason they shouldn't secure a spot on Saturday. And Championship, I'll run with Frank Lampard's Coventry. I think he can rally those troops one more time and they can pull something off. They obviously lost in a final. Another interesting factor that might go into price in these playoffs, they got so close against just 2 years ago when they lost on penalties to Luton in the playoff final. So a lot of those players will have that experience. I wonder if you have to take that into account. And yeah, I rally the question right back at you. Who's getting promoted from the playoffs?
Good to know that you value our friendship, Joe. I'll go Sunderland, Charlton. I agree with you on that. And I would have said Salford, but I'm going to go Notts County instead. So
Interesting. Well, we wait for these narratives to play out, right? And it's going to be good times. And yeah, if you're on a trading floor, good luck on Saturday. And it's going to be a lively one.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a lively one. Joe, thanks very much for joining me today. And thanks for listening. And join us next time on another episode of iGaming Daily.